in the end, you have to become good at poker, okay? And then translate that poker knowledge, technically, that you have by playing in poker games. We're actually playing the volume, right? Preferably for as much money as possible versus as weakest opponents as possible. That's basically how you make money in poker in a nutshell, okay? Hi there, boys and girls, and welcome back to another video here at the Poker Ambition channel, in which today I am going to be explaining you guys how to become a more successful poker player. Now, over the years, I've gained a lot of experience in understanding how this actually works by rising through the poker ranks myself, by seeing people around me, by afterwards coaching other students. It's gotten clearer and clearer to me how success in poker really works. And today in this video, I want to share that with you guys. Now, we are going to be measuring success on a scale from 0 to 100. Okay, well, I'll get clearer in a second. But let's say on a score from 0 to 20, if you're a poker player, you're considered a recreational player. You score very low, right? If 100 is the highest, there's the elites, then 0 is the lowest. Between 20 and 40, you could call yourself like a little hobbyist poker player or a striving professional. And when you reach the 40 to 60 mark, I would say the 60 mark, you can be considered a professional poker player. Now, the higher you go there, because you have successful poker players, very successful poker players, medium successful poker players. So from there on, the higher you score, the more success in poker you basically have. So, how do we actually score these points? I'm gonna give an example how Pro Evolution Soccer and FIFA do it. We got the Ballon d'Or winner, Messi, arguably one of the best football players in the world, or soccer for the Americans. Here we can see how high of a score Messi is, 94 at FIFA 93. PES apparently evaluates this player a little bit higher, and 100 is again the highest, so he would be considered an elite, right? He's definitely within the 80 to 100 scale. How did he get to 94? We can see that here. Pro Evolution Soccer does it with a diagram like this. FIFA just sums it up. He's very good at passing, shooting. He has very high pace, so he's very fast. He's excellent in dribbling, which is obviously his strongest skill. PES and FIFA both agree. Defensively speaking though, PES basically says it's non-existent, while FIFA is a little bit more gentle and gives the guy a 38. And physically speaking, you know, he's not the tallest. He's not, you know, the bulkiest of players. You know, he's not a Adama Traoré from Wolverhampton. Shout out to that guy. No. So mainly he got to 94 because of these attributes, right? And in poker, it kind of works the same. Here they had 6 criteria where they evaluated this player on. In poker, there is 4, or at least in my opinion. The poker success pie, we will call it, 4 areas. We have the engine, which makes up for 25% of becoming a good poker player. We have the technical side, obvious. We have mental game and performance, and I think these 2 sections are often worked on and often discussed. The engine, I will explain you that in a second, has more something to do with your belief systems, your conditionings, these kind of stuff. And then last but not least, we have the soft skills and management side. Okay, so get very good at all these areas, score 100, and become a very successful poker player. That's kind of how it works. We should start seeing it as a game. The player with the highest score will make the most money, okay, and therefore will be the most successful poker player. Now we can make a whole nother video about what success really is, okay, because the definition of success might vary, but I think for the sake of this video, let's keep it at who made the most money, right? In the end, you have to understand what your definition of success is and trying to create your life around achieving that definition of success, okay? You need a little bit of all the points that I just addressed, but can specialize in different areas to gain an edge. I will give you guys a couple of examples how a certain player specialized in one area and therefore became a successful poker player. So we have the dedicated grinder first, and as you can see here, He scores 70, which, as we remember, between 60 and 80, you are a professional poker player. So this guy is a professional poker player. He scores 70. He has reached a high enough score by developing in certain areas. We see that this guy, his engine is very high. Within the engine, there's motivation, discipline, conditionings, belief systems, mindset, these kind of stuff. He is an expert. He scores 25 points in this area. In the other areas, you know, he's still well balanced, but he is not, you know, he's not the best technical player. If he would go up against the elite of the elite, he would probably fall short technically speaking. However, he does put in a lot of volume, he's very consistent, and therefore in the end of the year, he has still made enough money to consider him a successful poker player. Okay. Another example, Linus Love, as I already talked about, excels in the technical area. Obviously, you know, we are talking about one of the best poker players, and obviously, you know, engine, mental game, it's obviously all on point, right? Because we're talking about the elite, but I'm trying to make a point here. Linus, very good technical. Soft skills and management. So in these, for example, we could include things like game selection. He doesn't really score that high. And I remember when I was playing, I think it was 5-10 with Linus Love, we would play 3-4-handed, and then when the table would fill up with a recreational player, Linus actually always left the game and started a new 3 or 4-handed game. Okay, he clearly didn't give a fuck about game selection because he considered himself way better than the rest. So if you are, let's say, number 1 in the world, any table that you're gonna play in, you're gonna be a profitable player. Whereas, let's say you're number 500 in the world, in order to become profitable at a table, you should not play against numbers 499 and lower, right? You should look for games where you play against a number 1000 in the world, a number 2000 in the world. But given the fact that you're very good technically, you can kind of neglect the game selection, because any game that you will play in, you would have a big edge, okay? Then we can also look at the score within the score, which I'm going to be talking way more in depth about later on. But basically, if this is technical, then within technical, we can see, okay, what is your theoretical knowledge? What is your GTO knowledge? We can see, okay, how good are you at exploitation? How good are you playing versus other racks? How good are you playing against the recreationals? Remember, there was a podcast once, I think it was with Jeans, if I'm not mistaken. It was on the Joe Ingram podcast. Shout out to Joe Ingram, go check out the podcast. And Jeans talked about how there were definitely tables if he was up against, I think it was Ben 86 and Sauce. He said, yeah, they're definitely way better players than me. However, if the fish joins the table and it's 6-handed, I make the most money. Now, what he tried to say with that is that he's not technically, or at least at GTO and versus Rex, a better player than Sauce or Ben. However, he thought that versus the fish, and in a 6-handed table with the fish, he would extract more money out of the fish than Ben or Sauce did. So in the end, he would be the most profitable player. And if we call that the definition of success, then he's actually the best player. And now some people will be like, yeah, but Ben is better and Sauce is better. And this again is your definition of success. It's your definition of who is a good poker player and when are you a good poker player. Okay, there's no universal answer here. Another example is the Butt. The Butt is not a great technical player. I mean, he scores half. There is a lot of room for improvement here. So if the Butt would want to improve his success in poker, he should probably work on his technical game. Soft skills management, also not that great, but he is a mental game and performance beast. He shows up, grinds 8 hours a day, has a very decent mindset, you know, here in the engine side, but he's just a performance beast. What he knows technically, the 12.5 that he scores here, comes out every day. Okay, we can have someone who's very good technically, let's say you score 25, but your mental game and performance sucks. What actually will come out of that technical knowledge in game will be maybe only even half, okay, due to maybe like some mental game issues or performance issues. Or as well, let's say for example, your engine isn't on point, you're very good technically, but you're very unmotivated, or you have a lot of tilt issues, then also you cannot put in the volume. In the end, you have to become good at poker, okay, and then translate that poker knowledge technically that you have by playing in poker games. We're actually playing the volume, right? Preferably for as much money as possible versus as weakest opponents as possible. That's basically how you make money in poker in a nutshell, Okay, but again, this player also scores 70. He might grind half the win rate compared to the technical specialist, for example. However, if he plays 3 times more volume and can do that more consistently, he in the end will actually make more money than the guy who's actually better technical. Okay, and there's many examples of players who maybe other players would not view as great players, but they would always be there every day. And in the end, if you look at who made more money, it was the bot. All right. Another example, the fisherman who specialized in soft skills management. He's very good at playing in very soft games. As you can see here, his technical skills aren't that great. Let's say, technically speaking, he's number 1000 in the world. However, he has good networking skills. He's maybe a social guy, plays a lot of live, for example, gets invited in private games, and therefore he doesn't have to be that great technically. He can be 1000 in the world because in the games that he gets himself in, he's playing against the number 10,000 in the world for a lot of money. Okay, so in the end, this guy could make way more money than the Linus Love, okay, who was an excellent technical player. Now, you know, he still has some room for improvement, because again, he scores 70, right? As you can see, everyone scores 70. And that's kind of the point that I wanted to make. There's definitely room for improvement, right? He could definitely improve in these 2 areas. However, you know, it's a very good mindset, and always gets himself in good games, knows when to play, knows when not to play, etc., etc. So again, he also scores 70. So there's multiple ways you can become a successful poker player. There's various areas in which you can specialize in to become a successful poker player. At different points in your career, you will be forced or voluntarily work more or less on these areas. For example, if you just started out playing poker, obviously you're going to spend a lot of time on your technical game, right? That's kind of the first thing that you do. You might neglect the other factors a little bit, because that's the area that's, especially in the beginning, I would say most important to excel at. Then at some point, let's say you find yourself a bit stuck and you get frustrated and you're trying to become better technically, you're only putting in all the time technically. For example, you might create a big gap between your in-game knowledge and your off-game knowledge. You think you're very good, but in-game it doesn't come out due to other factors, okay? Maybe you have some unresolved issues. Maybe you have, you know, a fixed mindset. Maybe you tilt easily. Maybe you have wrong expectations, etc., etc. All things that will cause you, okay, to not become a successful poker player. Because if you only score in technical, as we saw, let's say you score 25 in technical and only 5 in the rest, you didn't make it. You didn't reach 60, 80, the score minimum that you need in order to become a successful poker player or a professional poker player in general, right? And obviously, I think no one has 0, 0, 0. You always have at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5. But what do you specialize in and what can you improve in? There are always some extreme cases, outliers. Don't look at them as an excuse. He doesn't do X, Y, so I don't have to either. Okay, this is very common that you look for the outliers. Yeah, but you know, this guy does nothing on mental game, does nothing on the engine, does nothing on management. He only looks at the solver and executes. Well, maybe he naturally doesn't have any mental game issues. Okay, he doesn't have any performance issues. All right. Same with, like, if I'm gonna give you here a lecture about how important it is to live a healthy lifestyle, and then you look at the guy who just pinked the tournament, say, look at the guy, man, he weighs 100 kilos, he weighs 150 kilos, he's completely obese. Yeah, it happens, but it's not the majority, okay? This is a mindset that I also talk about. So, if we go back to Messi, and Messi would come to me and say, hey, Mr. Wacko, I've seen you on the football pitch, you make some moves here and there, how can I improve? You know, how can I improve? Then I would not say to Messi to work on his dribbling skills, right? He can maybe score half a point if he would work on that for a year. However, if he would put, you know, a couple of afternoons a month into defensive game, we can definitely, you know, get him up 10 points, right? So if Messi would want to improve and up this 39, this 93 and this 94, he would probably bulk up a little bit physically and improve his defensive capabilities. Okay, there's no point for him to work more on dribbling. However, naturally speaking, we like to work on the things that we're already good at. So, in which area should you improve to become a more successful poker player? All right, maybe I hope that the way I just explained it already you gained some clarity into, oh wow, so this is actually how success in poker works. And you can now probably think of some examples or like, oh yeah, actually that's true. All right. Well, becoming a more successful poker player, I made a 4-part video series available in the academy at pokerambition.com, where I go very deep into these topics, okay? This is just an introduction of how success in poker works. And obviously now we can go very deep into the 4 specific topics and start to give you more information so you can evaluate, hey, do I know this? Hey, do I do this? And in the end, you would have very good clarity where you would put your motivation in terms of time, okay? I'll quickly give an overview of what I will be discussing in this video series. In the first part, the engine, we will talk about belief systems, conditionings, and your environment. And this is basically where the engine is built, okay? Often, people in their poker career at some points, if something is wrong in their mindset, in their mentality, in their belief systems, their conditionings, it will come out in your journey to become a very good poker player. Afterwards, we talk about mentality and perception, mainly about how you perceive certain events, that all events like bad beats, like downswings, like other obstacles in an array, they're neutral because everyone will face them, and it's how you face them, how you perceive them, that will determine if you're gonna make it, yes or no, okay? We'll talk about self-awareness, as I say here in the engine, the warning lights in your dashboard informing you about malfunctioning in the engine. You need self-awareness because if this is where you are now and this is where you want to go, you will start here and at some point you will drill off road, right? And self-awareness, because this is going to happen, only with self-awareness we can course correct faster, okay? Confidence, motivation, and discipline, the fuel and nozzle to your engine. Obviously, it's also a performance thing. We need confidence, we need motivation, and we need to be disciplined in order to execute consistently. After every section, I will give a little evaluation sheet. An evaluation sheet comes with the 4-part series where you can keep track of your score. And after the 4-part series, you have perfect clarity what you score well in, what you're not scoring so well in, and in which area you should put your motivation and energy in order to become a more successful poker player. Then we talk about the technical. We're going to talk about how poker really works, a basic understanding of the game. Then we're going to talk about some fundamental theory in GTO, how we use it to become better players. We're going to talk about making vacuum highest EV decisions, aka exploitation. How does exploitation work? And then in the end, we're going to put it all together and playing your strategy, like to sum up what is your baseline strategy. And we're going to talk a lot about your decision-making process, right? How can we turn the knowledge that we gained in the other chapters into questions we can ask ourselves while playing at the tables? What should we take in consideration to make better decisions at the table, basically? Mental game performance, the coach and the player, the analyst and the performer. We're going to talk about your inner critic. Again, it's kind of the perception. How do you perceive and how do you react towards making mistakes? Expectation and reality management. I'm going to talk about the root cause to all your frustrations and the source of energy is expectation management, we could kind of call it. Also, I think I've seen this a lot with my students, and you see this in poker all the time. People kind of go off real, right? We either think we're better than we are, or we think we're worse than we actually are based on short-term results. When we lose a little bit, we feel like the worst player in the world. When we play very well, we feel like, okay, this is the new reality. We love this new reality. Our ego likes it. And basically, you kind of get a bloated image of how good you really are. And then usually at some point that comes crashing down. And then you're at the other side again of feeling like the worst player in the world. And basically, this chapter will help you stay in line. We'll talk about mental game mistakes, how certain mistakes that we make are not technical, but actually mental. And I will show you inspiration, mental hand history from Jared Tendler, how to work through that and how we can use this to fix underlying flaws in our decision-making process. And we're going to talk about the importance of recovery, getting more success by working less. And last but not least, soft skills and management. We're going to talk about the compound effect, how understanding this concept should affect what, where, and how much you play and spend. Kind of rethink why we play, how much we play, which games we play, which approach we take. A lot of things people just do because they copy other people, right? They are conditioned. Remember, it was the first one in the engine. That's why I think it's very important to start with the engine, okay, and your conditioning. Then the feedback loop. It's the concept of continuous improvement. Basically, I will show you how to get better in poker, which is a very valuable skill. 3, managing your own career, finding out what works for you and when to make a change. And number 4, game selection and grind optimization, the way to get to elite results money-wise, right? And this is everything to do with, you know, trying to get yourself in the best games possible, trying to play for as much money as you can afford to lose, because in the end, in a nutshell, that is how you make money in poker. So the 30th of December, which is probably gonna be either in a week, 2 weeks, a couple days, depending on when you see this video, or this date has already passed, that's obviously possible as well. I will be giving a webinar in our academy about how in 2022 you can reach your poker goals. And basically I will include a free coupon to this for that inside the series, okay? So get clarity on what is holding you back and crush 2022. How to become a more successful poker player, 4-part series. It's now available at pokerambition.com in our academy. It's €97. I will include a free coupon for this end of the year webinar on how to crush 2022, which will bring the total to €144. However, we now have this promotion where it's for only €97, guys. So go over to pokerambition.com, and I hope to give you clarity and help you decide where you should put your motivation in time-wise, okay? I want to thank you guys for tuning in for this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you've maybe already seen or have already purchased the program, leave a comment down below if you really liked it. And without further ado, I will see you guys in the next video. Keep crushing.